So as we continue to sit here and sift through all the college football recruiting news from the weekend, there was something I saw that really stood out to me. Something that when I noticed it, I knew I had to bring it here to all of you for us to discuss today. And of course, today we're talking about news involving the nation's #1 defensive lineman, Williams Nwaneri. Because up until this point, that's looked like it was a two-team race between the Oklahoma Sooners and the Tennessee Volunteers. However, after this weekend, that may have changed, and today, we need to break it all down. But before we can, as always, y'all know the drill. I have got to hear from you. Hop down to the comments. Give me a Y for yes or an N for no. Do you believe the Oklahoma Sooners can get a massive win for the nation's #1 defensive lineman, Williams Nwaneri? Let me know what you're thinking. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe. Hit that bell notification as I do constant college football content. You don't want to miss any of it. And if you enjoyed the content, be sure to like and comment down below. As those interactions seem small, they are massive. And we're on a push to 20,000 subscribers. We are less than 800 subscribers away. I'd love to have you a part of this unbelievable community. But having said all that, let's dive right into this. And as I stated in the intro, Williams Nwaneri is an incredibly gifted prospect. If we look at the 24/7 Sports rankings, they rank him as the #2 player in the nation. If we look at the 24/7 Sports composite, they rank him as the #3 player in the nation. Both have him as the #1 defensive lineman in the nation. And one of the things that really stands out to me about Williams Nwaneri is his versatility. I can't tell you too many prospects I've ever seen along the defensive line that when I watch them, I sit back and say, that guy might be scheme proof. And what I mean when I say that, I think you can drop Nwaneri in pretty much any defensive scheme in the nation, and he will find a way to make his presence known. He truly does have that much versatility. And because of that, it makes complete sense to me where a Brent Venables is highly after him. Because one of the things we talk about all the time in relation to the Brent Venables defense is how it relies on versatility. Williams Nwaneri has got a ton of versatility. And as I stated also in the intro, up until this weekend, it looked like it was a two-team race between the Oklahoma Sooners and the Tennessee Volunteers. However, there was some information that came out this weekend, information that I found highly intriguing about him taking another visit to a place he's visited several times. And today, we need to talk about it, as he found his way back to Athens visiting the Georgia Bulldogs on a weekend where he was visiting Missouri and just found his way to Georgia for a birthday party, but then made the drive from Atlanta to Athens to once again see the Georgia Bulldogs campus, to talk to their coaches, to kind of bask in the experience. And one of the things we talk about all the time when it comes to recruiting is follow the visits. And when we do that with Williams Nwaneri, I do think it tells a story. Because in the spring, he took an unofficial visit to Georgia and then followed it up with an official to Georgia on June 2nd. He took an official to Oklahoma on June 9th. He visited Tennessee June 16th, and he visited Missouri June 23rd. However, like I said, during that visiting weekend, he had a birthday party in Georgia, in Atlanta, and during that course, he drove from Atlanta to Athens to see the Georgia Bulldogs, something I do find compelling. Look, I've talked about this several times on lives, on videos. I do not diminish the importance of official visits. However, I think as college football fans, we as a whole diminish the importance of unofficial visits. I've always found unofficial visits to be compelling because the prospects are paying their own way. If I want to go see something, I'm going to be inclined to pay my own way to go see it. And for a prospect to be able to take multiple unofficial visits to a location, to me, it says something. Now, am I saying this race is done? Far from it. There's nothing but time and opportunity in front of every team involved, but a new player has entered, and I think both Oklahoma and Tennessee are going to be taking it very seriously, because the Georgia Bulldogs have a pitch that, quite honestly, only a handful of colleges in the nation can match right now. A pitch that says, hey, we won back-to-back national championships. There's not another college right now that can say, hey, the previous 2 seasons, we brought home the chip. Only Georgia can say that. There are very few other colleges in the nation that can say, hey, we match their draft production. Something we do year in, year out. That's a pitch that has got to be really compelling if you're sitting down and then hearing the Georgia coaches say, hey, did you see how many first rounders we sent? How about the second round? Third round? I mean, we are sending them in troves to the NFL. So make no mistake about it. This is a serious situation. When Williams Nwaneri goes on his own accord to visit the Georgia Bulldogs, it means there is a level of interest there. And one thing we have got to understand, it makes complete sense. If you're a defensive lineman, if you're a defensive prospect and a 5-star, I think it makes sense to listen to Kirby Smart's pitch, because that pitch right now looks pretty darn good. So what does this mean for the rest of this battle? Well, I think it's going to be interesting to see how Oklahoma tries to counterpunch on this. That's one of the most fascinating things about recruiting, in my opinion. We see a team like Georgia be able to get Nwaneri in for a visit. How's Tennessee going to respond? How's Oklahoma going to respond? Heck, maybe those responses have already happened in communication with the coaching staff. I'm not sure, but it is something we have got to be aware of and keep at the forefront of our minds. And I think the question now becomes, how does this battle play out? Is this now a 3-team race between the Oklahoma Sooners, the Georgia Bulldogs, or the Tennessee Volunteers? Could very well be. I know the Oklahoma people I talk to still feel very good about where they sit, but one thing we have got to acknowledge is that when Georgia comes and sits down at the table, we're now having a totally different conversation than the one we were previously having. I've said this several times about Alabama. When Alabama comes and sits down at the table for a recruit, it's a totally different situation than it was before. The game just leveled up, and I, for one, can't wait to see what this means. Look, the battle for Williams and Nwaneri is truly going to be a battle that gives us all fireworks. It's a battle we all must sit back and watch. We're dealing with heavyweight defensive line recruiters in Todd Bates for Oklahoma, and there's no arguing what the Georgia Bulldogs have done on the defensive line in terms of recruiting, in terms of development, in terms of production. They are on an insane run right now where they've sent 2 defensive linemen in the top 10 picks in the NFL draft back-to-back drafts. That is wild. Something that has got to be a compelling pitch. So we're going to sit back. We're going to watch as all the news for Williams and Nwaneri continues to come out. But this was a compelling piece of information, something we had to discuss, because you cannot count Georgia out. And if Georgia has set their sights on Williams and Nwaneri, the Oklahoma Sooners and the Tennessee Volunteers better strap in, because this recruiting battle just got started. Hop down to the comments, let me know what you're thinking. That's it. See ya.